In a world where legends rise and fall with every punch, where the roar of the crowd fades, but the stories live on. This is where those stories are told. This is Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From the blood, the sweat, and the glory, to the controversies, comebacks, and knockouts, we go behind the ring, no fluff, no hype, and definitely no BS. Just the truth behind the fight game. And we've been doing it for over 2 decades. A podcast pioneer, now a Hall of Famer.
Great. What's that ego gonna be like?
And next, the comeback kid.
Wait, isn't he like 90 or something?
Shut up, he'll hear you. The reigning, defending, undisputed, heavyweight champion of boxing broadcasting. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. And it's on now.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by, you guessed it, my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. But wait, we have a special for you. It is the holidays. Just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book because right now you can get it directly from the publisher for $12, and there's no limit. So with Christmas right around the corner, stuff everybody's stocking with one of my books. Listen, we got as usual, we got a busy show scheduled for you today. We're going to talk about Usyk against Wilder, which is just about set. It's not been official, but the WBC conference that's going on right now, it's been approved. So we'll wait to see about that. I got some Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua updates. We got a conversation about same-day weigh-ins that we'll talk about. We got the latest boxing news and much, much more coming your way. Hey, today's guest, former world champion and Florida Boxing Hall of Famer, my man Nate Campbell, is scheduled to join us. I'm also going to be giving you my top 12 bantamweights. We're down to the bantamweight division. We got one more division before it's at. And all of that. Hey, listen, I got a programming note before we get right into it. We're doing our show today, obviously, and we'll be doing one more show for the month of December, which is a week from today, December 10th. Then we're off for the holidays, and we will be back on Wednesday, January 7th. So mark it down. It'll be a great chance for you to catch up on all the shows that you might have missed. But first, let's talk about the fight results that took place this past weekend. I told you guys that I really wanted you to watch Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker was the main event. It was a card from England. It was broadcast on the Zone, and he fought, but you didn't get a chance to really see much of him because his fight over Ben Gavazi ended in less than 1 round. So hopefully you get to see him again. But Whittaker now is 10-0 with a draw, with 7 of his wins coming by knockout. And talking about a knockout, man, it was a newsreel knockout. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. There was some other interesting fights on that card. The co-main event had Tom Cowling going up against Aaron Bowen. And it was a tough fight, man, back and forth. And finally, Tom Cowling won the fight by split decision, 93 to he had 95-94, 95-94 twice, and one judge had it the other way, 96-93. Tom Cowling gets the W there. But the fight of the night, if you watch this card, was Cameron Vong going up against Gavin Gwynn. Now, Gavin Gwynn's been around for a long time, and Vong is a young, up-and-coming fighter. It was a rematch. Many people thought that Gwynn won the first fight, including Gwynn, so they made the rematch. And let me tell you something. What a fight this was. It was nonstop, 10 rounds, majority draw. So they probably will be doing it again. All right, listen. One of my main topics here is the news that's out there about the potential showdown in the heavyweight division between Usyk and Deontay Wilder. And let me tell you something, boys and girls. If this fight happens, and it's not been made official, but if this fight happens, this is exactly what's wrong with the sport of boxing today, okay? And I'll tell you why. Now, first and foremost, let's take a look at Usyk. Usyk is I got a comment in the chat room earlier saying this fight, the Usyk-Wilder fight, is a clear cherry pick, easy money, and he mentions that it's damaging Usyk's legacy, and that's exactly what I was just going to say. My man Orlando popped up into the chat room. What a surprise. What's going on, my man? Another Florida Boxing Hall of Famer. Anyway, I was just going to say the same thing about Usyk. I'm so impressed with Usyk and the fact that, you know, the fighters that he's fought. If you take a look at Usyk's resume, I mean, right now, as far as I'm concerned, he's the world heavyweight champion. He vacated the WBO title, but he still holds the WBC, the IBF, WBA, and IBO world titles. In his last several fights, he beat Tyson Fury not once but twice, Anthony Joshua not once but twice, and Daniel Dubois not once but twice. He's number one in the computer rankings, number one in the ring rankings, number one in the ESPN rankings, number one in the Billy C rankings, and number one on the IBO top 100, which I actually think is the most realistic rating system of all. And, you know, for the WBC, now they're in their convention right now. And the WBC has confirmed that they're letting they made some announcements with championships, right? And they said with the heavyweight division that they approved Usyk to make a voluntary defense if he wants. And one of the rules under the WBC is that you have to be ranked in the top 15. Well, guess what? Deontay Wilder is ranked at number 13 in the WBC. But here's the truth of the matter, boys and girls. Deontay Wilder is, the computer ranks him at number 44, the BoxRec computer. The IBO computer has him slightly higher than that at number 31. The WBC has him at number 13, but he's not ranked anywhere else. And remember what I said. The IBO computer rankings, number 31. The BoxRec computer rankings, number 44, which is realistic for him. The IBF, the WBA, the WBO, the Ring Magazine, ESPN, and the Billy C Boxing rankings all don't have him ranked. Now, here's a guy, when you look at Deontay Wilder, all right, look, let's call a spade a spade. Deontay Wilder, he was I call him a one-trick phony. A one-trick phony. You heard it right, a one-trick phony. Yes, he was a world champion, but he had one thing, and that's a devastating, and you got to give him credit for that, devastating right hand, okay? But that's it. He had no footwork, never incorporated a jab, which his physical build, he should be able to use a jab, has no defense at all. And when you look at his resume, he won the title off of Bermain Stavern. His biggest win, I'm not even going to give him credit for winning Stavern. Stavern really was done. He didn't even want to fight really anymore by the time he stepped in there. That's how Wilder won his title. His best win, in my opinion, was Luis Ortiz. But let's be real, Luis Ortiz, how old was he really? I mean, we don't know how old he was in that first fight. He got a TKO. He did fight him again and beat him again. But all his quality opponents that he lost to. He fought 5 times in the last 5 years with a record of 1-4, and the win was a blowout victory over Robert Helenas. Okay, now he just stepped in the ring in his last fight against Terrell Anthony Herdun, and he stopped him in the 7th round of a scheduled 10-round fight. Now, if you really take a look at Herdun's record was 24 wins, 5 losses. So you say, okay, he was a decent fighter, right? Wrong. Every one of his wins was against no one you ever heard of, and all his losses were against people that you did hear of, and he was knocked out in every one of those fights. And a win over him catapults him after losing. Prior to that, he lost to Zhilei Zhang. He lost to Joseph Parker. He beat Helenas. He lost to Tyson Fury, in my opinion, 3 times. So, I mean, anytime he really fought a real fighter, he's lost. And the WBC has the balls to let him fight for a title. I know it's a voluntary defense. I get it, all right? I totally get it that it's a voluntary defense. But let's be real. I think the blame really here, and I hate to say it, is on Usyk. Usyk has done nothing but impress with his run at heavyweight by fighting literally the top guys. You can make an argument here and say, oh, well, he deserves to get an easier fight. No, I disagree. I mean, look, we're talking about a cash crash for Usyk. Does he need it? And look, let's be real. Is it really worth it? I mean, I don't see Usyk having any kind of a problem with Deontay Wilder, but the man does have that one punch knockout power. Should he connect and catch Usyk? I mean, wouldn't that be a travesty for Oleksandr Usyk to lose to Wilder? And by the way, who really wants to see Deontay Wilder fight again? I mean, look, he became a champion. He won. He made some money. They carefully moved him, and then he finally fought some decent people, and he lost. He was exposed. Please, Usyk, retire before you fight him. And is that what he's going to do? Could he? Because he did say he was going to retire in the next year or so, or move back down to cruiserweight. But is that what he wants to do? Get a cash out and beat Deontay Wilder, then ride off into the sunset? I mean, a guy that has beaten Tyson Fury twice, Anthony Joshua twice, Daniel Dubois twice, all top heavyweights. He's beaten and basically owned, and he's going to go out against Deontay Wilder? I just don't get it. I'm getting comments in the chat room. Give a shout out to my man, Coach Dave. He's in the chat room. He'll be back. Hopefully he can come back on the show soon. Also, possible TV commercial setting up Usyk's go-away fight. Listen, whether he's choosing to make this his last fight or not, let's be real. Before we get all crazy, it's not been made official. It's not officially official, all right? It's not officially official. But there's a lot of movement going towards it. I saw it on social media a couple of days ago, and I actually made a comment. I said, no, this is fake news. There's no way Usyk, with all the respect I have for Usyk, I just, I can't see him fighting Deontay Wilder. He gets nothing out of it. Deontay Wilder listen, I hate to use the word bum, but he was a one-trick phony from day one. He always was, he always will be, and he is a one-trick phony. I'm sorry. He's not going to change his ways. Listen, here's the thing. I mean, Coach Dave is in the chat room. He's a trainer. I'm not, okay? But there is one thing that I do know about training fighters, and that is that a fighter, when you work on something new, and let's say a fighter didn't have, let's say he wasn't using his jab right to set up his punches, and and they work in the gym to have him, work on a jab, set up your punches. And he gets that next fight where he gets to incorporate all of the extra work he's put in on working on that jab. And he gets in trouble. He's fighting in this fight. He gets in a little trouble. And then what happens? They automatically, and it's human nature, a fighter will automatically revert back to what they do automatically, what they're used to, what they're accustomed to. And that's what happens with Deontay Wilder. He's accustomed to just going out there and trying to knock somebody's head off because they hand-fed him fighters that he could do that to. And when he finally got in a position where he fought a real fighter, he lost. And what did he do to deserve, in 5 years, he lost, all those fights, 4 fights he lost in 5 years and won that one in that little comment. And he deserves a world title shot over all these other heavyweights that have been busting their ass in the gym. I just don't get it. Coach Dave is backing me up. He says he goes back to what he knows. And he says he was in his camp twice. Well, do you think he deserves – hey, Coach, you think he deserves a shot right now against Usyk? I mean, please, if he had a couple of wins, if he beat a legitimate contender, even number 10 contender, then I would say okay, but in any event, I think it's a travesty. I think it's going to hurt Usyk's overall resume. A win over Deontay Wilder does nothing for Usyk except put some money in his bank account, which, hey, I'm not going to knock him for that. But the fight itself is what's bad and what's wrong with the sport of boxing, because how can the powers that be in the sport of boxing let a guy like Deontay Wilder, just because he held a title, go back and get a fast track to this fight? I'm totally sick over it, and I hope it really doesn't happen. But in any event, speaking of the WBC, there's some other things Malik Scott, that was a whole setup fight anyway. And Malik Scott tried to have him work on his jab. If you remember the first fight that he had with Malik Scott as his trainer, he did come out. He threw like 2 or 3 jabs and then went back to himself, and Coach Davis is agreeing what I said. Look, there's plenty of guys in line to fight. There's plenty of other fighters in line to fight. I mean, look, I'll look at my heavyweight rankings right now. I mean, this kid, Jet KBL, he's the guy that deserves a world title shot. Even Dubois should get another shot. If you want to look at young fighters, Frank Sanchez is fighting. You got Atuma, which I don't believe deserves a shot yet, but I would rather have him, fight than Deontay Wilder, even Fabio Wardley. I mean, look, it's a disgrace. But then again, Fabio Wardley's a champion now because Usyk gave up his WB title, so they made him a champion, which is also crazy. But some other WBC championship news I just want to touch on real quick. The WBC has stripped Terence Crawford of the WBC's version of his super middleweight title because, according to Mauricio Suleiman, Crawford hasn't paid the WBC the last 2 sanctioning fees. Listen, I promoted boxing, many shows for many years in multiple states, and the promoter paid I always, if there was any sanctioning fees, the promoter had to pay the sanctioning fees. So how is this burden? How is Mauricio Suleiman blaming Terence Crawford? Unless Terence Crawford was the promoter of his own fight against Canelo, I doubt it. I doubt that. But anyway, they stripped him. So it is what it is. So he doesn't have the WBC title anymore. Who cares? They get to a point. Floyd Mayweather got to that point where, people don't care about these trinkets anymore when you become an elite fighter like these guys are. In the super welterweight division. Sebastian Fundora, if you recall, he got an injury. He was scheduled to fight Keith Thurman, which another guy that has no right fighting for a world title. That fight has been rescheduled for early 2026. I know you're all chomping at the bit to see that fight, This is another crazy. Now, look, WBC, everybody thinks that's the best belt, right? And for all intent purposes, I guess I would have to agree that of the sanctioning bodies, of the 4 sanctioning bodies, I think the WBC is the best. I like the WBO next, then the IBF, and then the WBA to me is the least valuable title out there. But I actually like the IBO belt as well. How about this? The WBC has approved a championship welterweight fight. Mario Barrios, who just squeaked out a win against Manny Pacquiao, and many people, including myself, thought Manny won that fight, against Ryan Garcia. The WBC is really starting to, make themselves look pretty foolish with approving some of these fights. Look, I happen to be a big fan of Ryan Garcia. I am, okay? I loved every minute of his beating that he gave to Devin Haney. And, I certainly, I don't know and never claimed to know a lot about the steroids and the traces and what can be done and how they clean out. I just don't know. I purposely did not want to know. But with that trace that they found, I just can't imagine that made the difference. And then, I saw an interview with Ryan Garcia, how he, after that whole thing, he's a fragile, mentally fragile cat anyway. But he's getting a fast track to a title shot. What it is it's these guys that are in with the truth of the matter is when you get a fighter that becomes loyal to a sanctioning body, they'll bend every rule they have to get you a title shot, as long as they get their sanctioning fees. Because if they don't get their sanctioning fees, guess what? You get stripped. Ask Terrence Crawford. All right, listen. I got a guy in the chat room saying WBC stands for we buy and sell champions. Yeah. And the thing is it just doesn't. I just. Yes, I like that too. I'm jumping all over the place. I'm trying to keep everybody in the chat room part of it. Coach Dave says Dubois is the fight style-wise for the fans against Wardley. Yeah, I would love to see Wardley fight Daniel Dubois, But give a shout-out to my man Chase. Just popped into the chat room. Appreciate all you guys coming in. All right, here's an update for Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Now, I have an email to read later. There's a lot of people that think this fight isn't going to happen. All right. And one of them, my main man, coach, not Coach Dave, Coach Paul, is one of them that feels that the fight's never going to happen. For all intent purposes, it looks like it is because, I just recently, before I came on air, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But both fighters are in training camp. Both are claiming they're in great shape. Now, keep in mind that Anthony Joshua is working with a new team. He got rid of his old trainer. And, that's another thing that always cracks me up. When you get a fighter that loses the fight and he blames his trainer. It's like in football, American football, their team does real shitty, so they fire the coach. The coaches are missing the tackles. The coach isn't throwing interceptions, and in boxing, the trainer's not, ducking. The trainer's not incorporating a defense that they worked on or a game plan, or maybe skip the running day. I don't know. But in any event, sometimes you do need a change. Sometimes you need to add somebody. in a training camp or in a corner. Sometimes these guys that are with young fighters from the time they're amateurs and move all the way up, and then they get to a point where maybe they can't help the fighter anymore, but ego prevents them from bringing in somebody that could help. But we'll see. But in any event, the fight is still on December 19th, Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua. It is taking place in Miami and will be broadcast on Netflix for free as long as you're a subscriber. AJ has come out and said that he's going to knock out Jake Paul. And he's working real hard. To be honest with you, Anthony Joshua should knock out Jake Paul within the first round. I said within 4 minutes the fight should be over. So if it did get out of the first round, it won't go more than a minute of the second round if everything is legit. Now, according to Eddie Hearn, of course it's legit, he said. He said there is no script. He said that's illegal. You cannot have a script in a real fight that's being sanctioned. This is being sanctioned by the Florida Boxing Commission. It is scheduled for 3-minute rounds. They are using the right size gloves for a heavyweight, 10 ounce. So according to Eddie Hearn, it's not scripted. And he said that the plan that he knows of is that AJ is going to come out and knock out Paul as soon as possible. Jake Paul has said that, he picked him because he wants to prove to people like me that he's a real fighter and that he would deserve a world title shot should he beat Anthony Joshua, which I totally agree with. If he goes in there and beats Anthony Joshua, and I've had people say, my son-in-law actually tells me, oh, well, he's got a puncher's chance. I'm like, Lewis, he doesn't. Look, remember, boys and girls, just remember one important thing, all right? Jake Paul has been in the ring with one. Now, I'm not counting Mike Tyson because Mike Tyson was almost 60 years old, and we know that fight was scripted. Mike Tyson didn't chew on his glove because he wasn't frustrated that he wasn't allowed to knock that pig out, right? He wasn't chewing on his glove because of that, was he? But the truth of the matter is that Jake Paul was stepped in the ring with one guy that was a legitimate fighter, not even a good one, and that was Tommy Fury, and he lost. So everybody else has been a calculated fight. That's what scares me about this one. How does Jake Paul, unless he's a total lunatic, why would he even consider taking a chance? I mean, look, I got Damian saying, why would this even be considered? If anything, it would be a stay busy fight for Usyk, but I can't see this fight making any money. Listen, it is going to make money because it's on Netflix, and Netflix is paying them to do it. This is a money grab, for Anthony Joshua, $20 million, I heard. And of course, Jake Paul is, he's making buku dollars. I just think that as far as, we're talking about two different things. He's talking about the Usyk and the Wilder fight, which, that could be a stay busy fight. But it doesn't make any sense for Usyk, considering, how much longer is he going to stay around? Is that the fight he wants to walk away from? As far as Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua is concerned, well, this could be a money grab. This could be AJ saying that he's done with boxing, similar to what Tank Davis was looking at. Tank Davis's plan, if he didn't slap around his girlfriend and be kicked out of it. Plus, a lot of inside info said the ticket sales were so bad that they weren't even going to do it. But in any event, if Anthony Joshua is finished with the sport, so to speak, and he really just can't get up for it anymore, that would explain why he's fighting Jake Paul. And that would explain why he wouldn't care about having this fight go to distance and possibly be a draw. But I will tell you this. I will tell you this 100%. If Anthony Joshua goes in that ring and lays an egg, okay, the Brits, he'll have to move out of England because the Brits will not stand for that. In a million years, they wouldn't stand for that. So I mean, that's something to keep in mind. I totally think that he's going to have to do something. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it's like this guy saying in the chat room, yeah, I heard the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions couldn't come to an agreement, so they're not playing this week. That's how silly. I know. That's what's so funny about the sport of boxing. Is that what it is? Dax is saying that Wilder was at, screaming bomb squad. Listen, the funny thing about it is he's such a punk. Deontay Wilder is such a punk. I mean, anybody that really thought that he was a talented fighter just bought into it. Hey, listen, it goes to what I've been saying all along about a lot of, no offense, but I'm going to, I'm going to call a spade. A lot of the young boxing fans just don't know the sport. You can't go by an undefeated record. And they want to see, I know they want to see Deontay knockout. Listen, boxing, everybody wants to see a knockout in boxing. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't. That's why I never cared for Floyd Mayweather, because he didn't give a shit whether he knocked out anybody or not. All he cared about was getting his check and staying away from danger. That's not what the intent of the sport of boxing is. But anyway, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but we got, as far as I know, it's 16 days away, about 2 weeks away. Jake Paul going up against Anthony Joshua is something, But anyway, some news that I wanted to mention. There is a fight this weekend, a PBC card, which is a pay-per-view. Surprise, surprise. And I'm going on the record here. I never miss a fight, okay? But all I'm going to say is this, and you can read between the lines. I will never, ever, ever, ever pay for a PBC card again. I haven't, and I won't. The PBC is one of the worst things that have ever happened to the sport of boxing. And I'll just add something to it right now. I do like the Isaac Cruz Lamont Roach fight. I think that's a decent fight. But in case you didn't catch this, or Slandy Lara, yeah, him, Lara, he's like, I think 60, who, he's got a belt, and it was a unification fight against Yanibek Aleem Kahanlaha, and I believe that's how you say it, Aleem Kahanlaha, is off. Why? Aleem Kahanlaha, it's like, it reminds me of the what is it, that Christmas story? But Aleem Kahanlaha, no disrespect, Yanibek, but he failed his VADA drug test, okay? And he's out. And they got Johan Gonzalez to step in for him. And, look, I can't blame them from not letting Aleem Kahanlaha fight. You sign up with agree to VADA testing and you fail. It's not a good look. So you can't blame Lara for getting Johan Gonzalez thrown at you. But like I said, I'm not paying for this card. Lara has never been an exciting fighter. So we'll see what happens with that fight. I mean, he does have, like Dax is saying, he's still dangerous skill-wise. He is. He's not an exciting fighter, but he's a tactical fighter. As far as the best fight, I think, and the other fight on the card is Jesus Ramos Jr. against Shane Mosley Jr. Look, for an interim belt, come on, boys and girls. I mean, interim, recess, Murtai. I mean, come on, right? But Shane Mosley Sr. was one of the best fighters and one of the most exciting fighters to watch in his prime, especially at lightweight. At lightweight, really, he was a tough out. It was when he started moving up in weight. Great fighter. No disrespect to Shane Jr., but he's not even a fraction of what Pops was. He's in this fight. But I think the fight that might be the fight of the night, despite one of the fighters moving up in weight, is O'Shaquie Foster putting his super lightweight title on the line, junior welterweight, and he's taking on Stephen Fulton, who's moving up in weight. Now, Stephen Fulton is a quality fighter. Again, moving up in weight. Now, this whole thing, moving up one weight class, is not all that difficult, especially in my opinion, now that I'm, breaking down and, giving you guys only 9 weight divisions. And today will be a good example of the bantamweight division. But I like the O'Shaquie Foster, Stephen Fulton fight. And I do like Isaac Cruz and Lamont Roach. The O'Shaquie Foster, I'm picking Foster. I think Foster should win that fight, but it's not going to be an easy fight. The other two, I'm not even going to pick. But the Isaac Cruz, Lamont Roach, that's going to be a real interesting fight. And the reason why I say that is because Isaac Cruz is such a typical Mexican fighter. He comes in there, he's throwing punches, virtually no defense, doesn't really set stuff up, takes a lot of punches. And he's stepping in there with Lamont Roach, who can box. And it's going to be interesting to see, but again, I don't think this card is worthy of a pay-per-view. I really don't, but in any event, some other news I wanted to bring up as we wait for Nate, because I figured he would be here already, but hey, he's got another half hour if he wants. I thought he would be hanging out a little longer, but we'll see. He's busy in the gym. He's training kids now. I know that. So we talked about last week the Mexican monster, David Benavidez, has gotten the okay to move up and challenge for the cruiserweight title, Zurdo Ramirez's belts. And the WBC has given him a green light to do that. I like the fight, but here's the other interesting thing, that the WBC has him as a mandatory. They have a mandatory, giving him an option still in the super middleweight. In the light heavyweight division. So he moved up to fight. He's going to move up to fight in the cruiserweight champion. Should he win the fight, he'll have to make a decision whether he's going to campaign at cruiserweight, which I would think he would, because now that he would be a title holder, or if he wants to go back down into the light heavyweight division. He had a hard time making weight for the Arctic fight. He said he wanted to move up to cruiserweight, and then he said he wanted to even potentially move up to heavyweight. I like this fight. I really do, and I'm looking forward to it. The more I think of this fight, the more I want to see it. I mean, Benavidez is 31-0 with 25 knockouts, challenging for technically his first fight at cruiserweight. Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez is 48-1 with 30 knockouts. Both of them are similar in style. I just think that it's going to be interesting. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. I said the WBC. It's the WBA that has granted David Benavidez they had listed him as the mandatory title challenger for the Bivol Beterbiev rematch, the third fight, which I was glad to hear that that's actually going to happen, because I haven't heard anything concrete on that third fight. Because listen, very rarely do fighters fight more than their opponent more than once, right? The same opponent more than once. And in that particular fight, the Bivol Beterbiev fight, we were treated to two fantastic fights, each fight going the opposite way. That's a fight you want to see a third fight. And let's get a winner once and for all. But the WBA has left the door open for David Benavidez to move back down and fight that. But for that belt against the winner, which I like, if he can make the weight. Like I said, he had a hard time making the weight for Yarde. He's I guess he's going to feel comfortable at cruiserweight. But remember something, being overweight and coming in technically at the cruiserweight division when you're fighting at light heavyweight, drain yourself and dehydrate yourself to make 175, and then you rehydrate to 190, 185, 190. Now you're stepping in with a guy that's probably going to be well over 200 by the time the fight happens. But we'll be talking about same-day weigh-ins here in a little bit. But some other news I wanted to mention was Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. They're going to fight. The fight's set January 31st in New York. Shakur agreed to move up. He's not going to lose his belt that he currently has. And should he beat Teofimo Lopez, he will have the choice of whether he wants to continue in the upper weight or stay at lightweight. But right now, junior welterweight. And if you recall, Teofimo has the WBO world title and the ring junior welterweight titles. So that will be on the line for Shakur Stevenson. I like I like the fact that Shakur is moving up. In the chat room here, 684 says, I have a weird feeling for Timo in that fight. Here's the thing. I'm not really sold on Shakur Stevenson. I know he's a really good defensive fighter. And my man Larry Hazard, who was on this show regularly several years back, told us about Shakur Stevenson when he was an amateur. Said, hey, keep an eye on this guy. Keep an eye on this guy. And sure enough, Shakur Stevenson is a world champion today. But aside from Devin Haney, he's the next most boring fighter out there. And I like the fact that he's stepping up in weight. And if he continues to fight these big fights and he just outboxes people and they're not exciting, it is what it is. At least he's taken on a challenge and he's not doing what appears that Usyk is doing with Deontay Wilder. So that fight's set January 31st in New York City. So we'll see what happens with that. There's a couple of other fights I wanted to talk about. Okay, so there's an undefeated heavyweight out of New York. He's out of Brooklyn, actually. His name is Price Taylor. He's 9-0 with 6 knockouts. And people are always asking me, hey, how come we don't have any young heavyweights to keep an eye on? I said, well, this might be one of those guys to keep an eye on. 9-0 with 6 knockouts. He's going to be fighting on December 20th. And he's a big guy, 6'4", 275 pounds. He's taking on Michael Polit Coffey, who's been around. He's a gatekeeper. There's no question about that. 13-5 with 10 knockouts. He's there to see if Taylor can continue improving. So we'll keep an eye on him and see how he does. He's a young fighter, and he's an American heavyweight. So we'll see what happens here. I have an email I wanted to read. This is from my man Coach. Not Coach Dave, Coach Paul. And he says, he says, I have a rant, so please be patient. And it's several page rant. Okay, so let's read it and see what he says. He says, and the thing that he sent me was a link that is talking about a potential Floyd Mayweather rematch, not with Manny Pacquiao, because I know a lot of people are talking about that, but a rematch with Andre Berto. Now, I could see why my man Coach got pissed off. He says, he says, here's my rant. Think about May phase fake TBE 49-0 way out. Oh, I listen. Coach knows how to get me going because nobody was more anti Floyd's 50th win against Conor McGregor than me. All right. He says, all right, let's go back. He says, September 2013, Floyd fights a too soon 23-year-old Canelo. And they offered Canelo a purse bid that they couldn't pass up. In May of 2014, he fights Manny Pacquiao in super welterweight division. Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Timothy Bradley, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman. No. He fights Manny Pacquiao. Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Timothy Bradley, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Adrian Broner, all were available. And he says, with venues, judges, referee, ringside, all his opponents, gloves, fights, moved up to Maidana. Devon Alexander, Amir Khan twice. Then in previously arranged rematch given up by Maidana's son in the first fight. Showtime, Mayweather, Maidana, epilogue gives Maidana a rematch. Yeah, well, a lot of people thought that he lost that first fight, and I think he kind of had to. 2015, as Victor Postal, Terrence Crawford, Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Timothy Bradley, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Adrian Broner were all on the list of prime opponents available after losing to a libel suit to Manny Pacquiao over PDE claims. Mayweather lost the case in order to pay up having the case sealed due to his career testing being taken into evidence, covered in a Thomas Hauser article. 6 years too late, he fights Pacquiao. The fight would not go without a conflict because Pacquiao suffered a shoulder injury. Knowing a postponement would kill the fight forever, he denied shoulder shots. Mayweather denied shoulder shots, and he himself received shots for alleged fragile hands for years. And then, of course, we know what happened in that fight. So closing 2015 with a 49-0 record on the line, and he puts a note here, that's a heavyweight record. Jimmy Wilder went 93-0 with a draw to start his career that he ended up with 132-3-1. Chavez won 87 of his first fights without losing, and he finished his career 108 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws. And Mayweather fights 30-3 PBC stablemate Andre Berto, and then fights Victor Ortiz and Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Coach is making all these points that I totally get, but he's in his rant, so I'm giving him that. He says then he picks still for his 50th fight, he still has Cale Brook, Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, and Danny Garcia, all willing and able to fight him. But who does he take? Conor McGregor, right? Which, believe it or not, the Nevada Athletic Commission approved, which, by the way, and I've talked about this too, they would not let Jaime Munguia fight Triple G. They said he didn't have enough experience, and I don't think he was. Coach is saying he was 27-0 with 23 knockouts. For some reason, I remember he was 25-0, but I could be wrong. And then he knocks out, and then he wins that fight, right? He says in 2018 he knocks out a Japanese kickboxer, and then we heard rumor that he was going to fight Jake Paul, but instead he faced Logan Paul in an exhibition, beats him, and now he's looking to potentially fight Pacquiao again. But anyway, and by the way, his Andre Berto calling him out, looking for a rematch. The thing is it was a bare knuckle fight, which I don't think Floyd will ever fight. Listen, look, the point that Coach is making here is pretty simple. He knows that I get all worked up over Floyd Mayweather because of all these facts that he's laying out for us here. And it's true. Floyd, for all the people that love Floyd and think that he's such a great fighter and all these things, which he was of his era, but he's not the best ever. And he's not the only guy to ever walk away with a 50-0 record. He is. That's his claim because he stopped, but he cherry picked. He didn't fight the best guys available. And to be honest with you, I would have loved to have seen him fight Manny Pacquiao when they were both in their primes, but he didn't. And he waited, and he waited. And he waited, and then they fought, and they were both not in their prime, so we never got to see them both at their best, and Manny had an injury, and there's people that actually thought Manny won the fight, not me personally, so to tell you the truth, if Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather fought again for the second time at their ripe old ages that they are right now, I think that I wouldn't mind that as much as seeing Floyd just get a payday. Floyd aggravates the shit out of me, and the fact that he pays people to keep his name relative in the discussion about being an all-time and not even listen. I'll give him an all-time great tag. On my all-time great list, he's number 25. But to say he's the best and to say that he's better than Sugar Ray Robinson, or Hank, Hammer and Hank Armstrong, or, some of these other great fighters. I mean, I don't even think he would have beaten, any of the Fab Four, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard. No way. He would have tried to duck him, but if he was fighting during that era, he wouldn't have been able to duck him, and his name would be his name would be Floyd Mayweather Sr. Because I've always said that I thought Floyd Mayweather Sr. in his prime would have beaten Jr. And the reason why I say that is they both had the shoulder roll defense. I mean, where do you think Floyd Jr. learned it? But the difference between Pops is that Pops went in for knockouts. Pops engaged. Pops had more power, more pop, than Junior had. So, anyway, big news at the WBC is that they are evaluating. You see, this is another one of these issues. people were criticizing and still are criticizing the potential league that Dana White and Turki Al-Rashid are going to form for boxing, and the promoters that are going to be iced out, and the sanctioning bodies are going to get their claws ripped out of the fighters. Of course, they're all up in arms, right? But what's going on now, they're all trying to do the same thing. The WBC recognizes them as themselves as the sanctioning body. The WBA, WBO, IBF are all the same. That's why when you have a champion in one of the sanctioning bodies, they all of a sudden disappear from the rankings from the other sanctioning bodies. Or even if you have a fighter that's about to fight for another title, what do? They all of a sudden are out of the rankings, That's why I decided to do ours, but that's besides the point. But the WBC is evaluating, they've announced that they're going to evaluate bringing back the same-day weigh-ins. Now, this is something that I've been saying we should do for a long time. Now, they're trying to, just like the WBC has come up and fabricated some kind of data analysis that makes them feel that female fighters can't fight more than 2 minutes a round. And every single female fighter I've ever talked to thinks that's total bullshit. And they all want to fight 3-minute rounds. But the WBC is saying nay. So the WBC is also trying to say that same-day weigh-ins may not be as healthy for the fighters as we all think. Now, I can't see that being a valid statement. That's why they're saying they're going to evaluate it. But the truth of the matter is what I think, my opinion, is same-day weigh-ins. What it will do, it'll bring us back to weight classes that are true weight classes. Years ago, they used to have the weigh-in the morning of the fight. And then the fighters, same thing, like with the amateurs. They weigh in, the morning of the fight, So look, if you're trying to make weight and you're a welterweight, you're trying to make 147 pounds, right? And the weigh-in's the same day. You may, if the weigh-in's the morning, they usually had it in the morning and the fight's at night, right? So let's say you stop eating, stop drinking 24 hours before the weigh-in, and you dehydrate a little bit. It's going to be, a few hours before. If you did that and you step on the scale, you can rehydrate pretty quickly, right? If you have the same day weigh-in and 24 hours, they're starving themselves and not drinking anything for 2 days before, and then they have 24 hours to recoup. And by the time they step in the ring on the fight night, 147-pounders weighing 160. What I like about the same-day weigh-ins is you might have a guy that, hasn't had anything to eat or drink for a couple of hours, and it may bide him a couple of pounds maybe. But you're going to have really true weight divisions. So 147-pounder, let's say he makes weight at 8 o'clock in the morning. He weighs 147 by fight night. By that time, the same day, that night, how much more can he weigh? 150? So you still got, true weight classes. I vote for that. I don't like seeing, listen, there's fights that I go ringside and it's a middleweight fight. These guys are monsters because they rehydrated, some comments here in the chat room. We got some people, let's see, with the weigh-ins. 684 says, I strongly prefer same day for safety and fairness, but 24-hour remains dominant because it benefits the promoters and big stars like Mayfeather financially. Yeah, well, some of these fighters like to put the dehydration clauses in there so they can't, or rehydration, so they can't gain a certain amount of weight. Yeah, no, I get that. You know, I don't even listen. He's also saying, imagine Sugar Ray Robinson and Mayweather same day weigh-ins. Look, I don't care how many day weigh-ins there was. Sugar Ray Robinson would have had zero problem with Floyd Mayweather. I mean, make no mistake. He says, how many phony belts do we have 24-hour weigh-ins? Look, I think the biggest positive about same-day weigh-ins is that it'll give us true weight classes. The fighters will be fighting in true weight classes, and that's what I would prefer. Hey, I'm still waiting for Nate Campbell to sign in, but if he got tied up, so be it. But in any event, I think that the same day weigh-ins would be smart for the sport of boxing. I think that it'll definitely refocus some of the weight classes. Guys that are campaigning that can make it. Used to be a lot of Mexican fighters could lose a lot of weight, and then rehydrate and gain 10 pounds, 15 pounds. But I've seen, like I said, I've seen some fighters in the ring on fight night that there is no way, and I know that the WBC has their 10-day weigh-ins and 30-day weigh-ins, and they have to weigh a certain amount. But I think if we had same-day weigh-ins, if you had fighters that were walking around at 147 all the time, plus or minus a couple of pounds, you would see a huge change in the sport of boxing for the better, I think, because some people's bodies can handle, dehydrating and rehydrating better than others, and it definitely takes a toll on your system. There's no question about that, So I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think that I got a little note that the 684 might be somebody that I know, and my man Coach knows. Might be the same guy, but it makes sense now. Makes sense because picking on poor Fayweather. But anyway, the truth of the matter is that same day weigh-ins is good, I think, and we'll see. And the truth of the matter is it would have to be something all of the major sanctioning bodies would have to agree on, right? You would think, or it would further put division. And getting back real quick to that league concept, right? I told you guys last week that the fights that we saw, Ring 4, the next one is the one I was just telling you about, Shakur Stevenson against Teofimo Lopez, is going to be Ring 5 in New York on January 31st. I think that, I believe that, the league concept could work. And I said it after the fights of Ring 4. I said, look, all those young fighters on the card, keep an eye on them. They're going to be the guys that are going to sign up for this league. So if you take a look at what's going on right now, right, and you look at all the sanctioning bodies, and you look at their fighters that they have ranked, okay, the rankings are ridiculous, really. You look at the computer rankings, they're more realistic. You look at, my rankings, I have no bias. I don't have a champion. I have who I think of the top 12 fighters of the division. And, oh, by the way, I'm only doing 9 divisions. All right. So which really closes the gap because some of those lower weight classes are divided by 4 pounds. I mean, I have to go to the bathroom and have a healthy you-know-what, and I can get rid of 4 pounds. So, I mean, it was just a way for the sanctioning bodies to make more money. If there's more titles, they get to charge more sanctioning fees, so they make more money, right? Well, the league concept, think about it. If these young fighters sign up for that now, they're not getting any opportunities. Just look at Usyk. Usyk's fighting Deontay Wilder. What about the young heavyweights that have been busting their ass in the gym? What about them? They're not getting a chance. So they're either going to get turned off by the sport or whatever, or they may choose to join the league. Now, there's some positives with the league. There's some negatives with the league. Could you make more money by yourself or negotiating a big fight without a league? Probably. But with the league, from what I saw, they're offering some other stuff. They're offering minimum per round purse. So that means some of the younger fighters could be making more money. They're also offering a profit share, so to speak, with advertisers and other revenue streams that come in, which is good. There's one champion. You would be climbing the ladder, so to speak, of the contenders. And, number 9 beats number 8 and so on and so forth. And you get up to the top fighters. So what you'd end up with, first of all, you'll end up with fighters that are losing, that are climbing their way back up, like they do in England. There's nothing wrong with that. But what you'll end up with is true champions that are quality. They will be the best of their division, not what we see today. And patience is the key to the success of this league. And when I say patience, I mean developing it now. Taking these young fighters that you're starting to see them especially on Turki Al-Rashid's cards. You're starting to see these young fighters. Those are the guys because it's going to take, and I predicted it will take about 5 years for them to build a pool of fighters. Because let's face it, that's the key. You need a pool of fighters, right? And once you have a pool of fighters, now you can, have the best fight the best and so on and so forth. The problem with the sport of boxing today is the overall pool of participants, and I'm talking worldwide pool of licensed fighters, is at an all-time low. We could say that boxing's in resurgence, and we could say it's doing great and all these things, which it is compared to what's been going on the last several years. But the truth of the matter is that the pool, the selection of fighters is slim. So you get these fighters that are fighting in these third world countries or whatever. They show up here with an undefeated record, 26-0, 26 knockouts, and everybody's like, ooh, he must be good. No, he's not. Because he was fighting the same guy with different names in some country that doesn't have the regulation that we have here in the States or we have in England. That's where the fallacy comes into play. And that's where a lot of fans don't get it. And, I think, now I don't know if it will work, this league, but I think it's worth a chance. It's worth a shot. Because if we can get boxing, and I'm a boxing purist, I get it. I don't need somebody to tell me, hey, Usyk's fighting Wilder because he wants the money. I get it, man. You don't have to tell me that shit. I know all about the business of boxing. I know all about trying to take the least resistance to the maximum gain. I get it. I know. When you put your business hat on, I can't fault a guy like Floyd Mayweather for making all that money, for taking no risk. You can't fault them. You can't. But I have a boxing purist hat I like to wear. And the truth of the matter is because I'm a boxing historian. I respect the fighters of yesteryear. I respect what they gave to this sport. I just watched the other night last night. I watched my favorite boxing movie was on Turner Classic Movies, Requiem of a Heavyweight. If you've never seen that movie, it's not a somebody up there loves me kind of movie where it's great boxing scenes and all this. It's more of a truth, and they show you basically what they used to call during that era being punch drunk, which today we know it as more serious CTE issues, but the truth of the matter is that if you've never seen it, it's a story of a fighter who is done. He's had his best days behind him, and his manager, who's played by Jackie Gleason, and his trainer, who's played by Mickey Rooney. It's great, and the fighter is Anthony Quinn, and he's in his last legs. He's in the fight opens up. He gets knocked out by who? Who? That's right, Muhammad Ali, who was Cassius Clay at that time, and it was him in the ring. You see his face, gets knocked out. He's never really the same, and Jackie Gleason sells him out to a wrestling, right? And they make him put on a like an Indian, and he goes around, and it was terrible for him because it was humiliation, and you see the whole story of the movie is what happens to these guys that give their all to the sport, physically, mentally, their life they give to the sport, to the people around them. And then those people that they trusted, that they put it all in their hands, turn around and give them the old kazoo, like Jackie Gleason did to him. It's similar to what's the other one with Humphrey Bogart? That's my other favorite. With the it's supposed to be the Primo Carnera story, but those movies. Harder They Fall. My man Coach is saying that he thinks the Harder They Fall was real insight. Listen, that was insight. Look, they look at two different things, Coach. The truth of the matter is the Harder They Fall shows the business side and how they make it, and that happens today. If you've never watched The Harder They Fall, that's what they do. That's Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder is that guy that they built up, and he believes in his own mind that he's that good, even though they were giving him setup fights, fixed fights, all these things. And then when he finally gets into a real fight, he gets clobbered, and that's the story of Harder They Fall. But the Requiem of a Heavyweight, that story is about the fighter who leaves it all in the ring and, can't function normally. Now, my man James is saying $1 Million Baby. All right, let me tell you a story about that movie, okay? I went to see that movie, and I was expecting, and I went there, and I'm thinking, okay, I walked out of that movie crying. I for some reason I thought that she was going to come back, and it was going to be like a feel good story. It wasn't. It was a misery. It was like everything you could hope that doesn't happen. It all happened. It was terrible. I thought. I mean, the movie was good, but the whole story. But there's so many good fight movies out there that you probably never heard of. There was one called The Ring. There's a classic with I don't know how we got started talking about movies, but it's called The Setup. And that movie, it's an old movie. The Setup was my man Jeff is saying, I agree, it was beyond sad. I know. I don't think I've seen the only movie I went to see after that. I went to the movies to see what did I see? I saw Sin City and then Sin City 2. I other than that, I stopped. I just watch old movies. But the setup with what was it? Robert Ryan was the star. That is a really good movie, and that's also along the lines of these guys that are working against each other. In this case, his manager sets it up, and he's betting against his own fighter. Robert Ryan, who was an aging fighter and gets involved with a fix that he didn't know about, and he ends up beating this kid up. And then the mob is there, and they break his hand. Which it's at the end, it's kind of a feel good, because on one hand, this guy's career is finally over. They break his hand, and he can never fight again. But on the other hand, his wife is happy because she wanted him to quit the game. But that's a real good one. And The Ring, that's another good movie about a Mexican fighter, young fighter who fights to support his family. That was a good one. But yeah, there was a lot of good boxing movies. But the ones that everybody expects you to love, like I'm not a big, the Jake LaMotta Raging Bull. I mean, that was a good cinematic movie, and I love Jake LaMotta, but it was a good movie, but it wasn't my favorite. Like, I like the stories a little better. And, the Graziano one with somebody up there loves me. Paul Newman was in that. I mean, that was good. But some of the other ones that we're talking about, was better in my opinion. But we'll have to evaluate that with boxing movies. And of course, Rocky, when Rocky came out, I mean, how many people out there drank down some raw eggs, huh? How many? I know I did. I liked the Rocky movie. I didn't like the whole franchise. It dragged on way too long. So I was uptight about that. But the original Rocky was good. The fact that he didn't even win, which was the best part. But raw eggs. Everybody was eating raw eggs, right? And Jeff saying, and one-arm push-ups. Yeah, I mean, listen, it gave boxing a shot in the arm. And the late, great Sal Rocky Senecola, who used to be my co-host, hopefully he's looking down on us now, he used to quote that movie like it was a real fight. I used to have to tell him all the time. I'm like, Sal, it was a movie. He's like, oh, you remember when Rocky did this and Rocky did that? And I'm like, Sal, it was a movie, man. But yeah. It was a movie, but it was what it was. But in any event, all right. Well, I guess my man Nate Campbell is not showing up, so we'll get him another time, I guess. I apologize for plugging him and advertising that he was going to be here. But let's go through my bantamweight rankings. So as you know. If you're new to the show, I got so sick of all these rankings, all the BS, with the four major sanctioning bodies, and one of the things that really pushed me into doing this was you're looking at their rankings, right? Top 10, let's say. You got Joe Schmo at number 4, Vinny Gumbats at number 3. Oh, number 2 and number 1 are vacant. Nobody's in those spots, not rated. It's like, wait a minute. How do you do that? How do you have a guy that's like not rated, but the guy that's on the spot below that doesn't automatically move up? And I just got so sick of it. And the reason, we know why. The people that know the business of boxing knows why. You know what the reason is? Because they pay to get the ranking. Okay? You want to know the truth? The fighters, promoter, or managers, or the fighters, or whatever, they pay the sanctioning bodies to get a ranking. All right, the lower ones, and then they got to win some fights to get ranked higher. So I got sick of that. And although I do respect, the ring ratings, there's always a little thing in the back of my mind. Like, remember when Golden Boy owned the Ring magazine? Do you remember all the Golden Boy ranked fighters with the belt? Well, Turkey Al-Rashid, all of a sudden his fighters are in there. So it makes you wonder about that. ESPN, I respect their ratings. Their ratings are decent, but I just don't think that ESPN follows boxing the way they should anymore. Listen, the BoxRec, their computer rankings are good because they base it, the computer picks it out based on the opponent and the opponent's opponents and the opponent's opponents and opponents and opponents and opponents. But I personally like we got James is saying Tom Schwartz was ranked number 2 when Fury fought him. Never ranked before or after that. Yeah, well, that's like Jake Paul. Let's be real. Jake Paul's ranked by the WBA in the light heavyweight division, I think, in the light heavyweight, unless that changed. The other thing, too, about the rankings, and, I'm currently reading, I shouldn't even say this, when in doubt, stop the bout. My man Mike Silva, his latest book, I'm currently reading it, and we're going to have Mike on and talk about it. It's a fantastic book, okay? And one of the things that he points out in this book, and you should get it, make sure you tell him Billy C sent you, is the fact that because the pool of fighters are so much smaller now than it used to be, fighters that really are not that experienced are being pushed into fights, championship fights, longer fights. A fighter that has 12 fights that really should still be in 6 or 8 round fights. It's called When in Doubt, Stop the Bout. Come on, coach, pay attention to the show, man. And anyway, when you look at these rankings and you see these young fighters, and look, Vasily Lomachenko was an exception. The guy had 300 amateur fights, and he was, in my opinion, one of the greatest fighters ever. I think that they robbed him against Devin Haney, but that's besides the point. We pushed him out of the game. But in any event, back to my rankings. I decided to do my own rankings. I do like the IBO's computer rankings. The IBO, they call it the IBO Top 100. They are the most accurate of all. I love their system. And we're going to have Ed on here soon, but in any event. So what I decided to do was do a top 12. I'm going to give a top 12 in the original 8 weight classes only, plus the cruiserweight division. I added the cruiserweight division because I felt that the cruiserweight division, based on the way we are today, physically, bigger, stronger, et cetera, the cruiserweight division should be more popular than it is. So I did that. So if you've been following the show, we started at heavyweight. We are now at bantamweight. Next week, which will be our last show before the holiday break, and we'll be back on Wednesday the 7th. So I urge you to follow and subscribe to our podcast, catch up on some of the old shows, go through YouTube, check it out. We're on Rumble, we're on Facebook, all that stuff. Go watch some of the old shows. Make sure you subscribe. All right, here we go. Now, the thing is that the bantamweight rankings are really the super bantamweight or junior featherweight and bantamweight. I have them combined because I'm only doing 9. So I don't care about 4 pounds because I know that these guys can make it. So here's my top 12 in what I feel are bantamweights. Number 1, I think, was a layup. There's no question about this guy. Naoya Inoue from Japan. He's number 1. Number 2 is Junto Nakatani. He also is out of Japan. Number 3 is Marlon Tapales. He's out of the Philippines. Number 4 is David Picasso. He's out of Mexico. And by the way, Inoue is fighting Picasso. So anybody that thinks that Inoue isn't fighting the best, I mean, he is. That's his next fight. And we're going to see it here in the States, by the way. Number 5, Christian Medina out of Mexico. Number 6, this was a tough one for me. I could see this guy being down a little further, but I just thought that his pedigree deserved him at my number 6. That's Sam Goodman out of Australia. Ramon Cardenas is United States, is at number 7. Number 8 is Roisuke Nishida out of Japan. Number 9 is another Inoue. This one's Takuma Inoue, also out of Japan. He's typically in a weight class below his brother, but not on mine. Number 10 is Saya Tutsusumi out of Japan. I probably murdered that name. Number 11, this was another tough one for me. I was toying with having him just miss it, especially he's coming off a loss to one of my favorite fighters, Nick Ball. But, when you look at this guy's whole body of work, although he's been around a while, I still think he deserved to be in the top 12. I got him at number 11, TJ Donaghy out of Ireland. And rounding out my top 12 is Jason Maloney out of Australia. Those are my bantamweight rankings. Now, listen, like I've said to everybody in the past, if you're interested in getting on the list, now, I'm going to be, after next week, I'm going to be doing my rankings. I'll be updating them once a month, and I'll be offering all 9 via email. So if you want to get an email with my rankings, just drop me an email, Billy at Talkin Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll get you on the list. Okay, programming note, we are doing a show next week, but we will be off until Wednesday, January 7th. So it'll be I can't remember if that's the first. That might be the first Wednesday of January. But we are going to take those 3 weeks off for the holiday. So make sure. So I'm getting a question from my man, Matt. My man, Matt. What's up, brother? I'm glad he's here. He says, what do you think of Nakatani against Inoue if it goes down? Love the fight. Look, I got him at number 1 and 2, bro. I got Inoue number 1, Nakatani at number 2. That's the fights we want. And that's the thing that's why I'm thinking positively about this league thing, because that'll force these kinds of fights. When you got guys that are looking for the easiest way out. Now, look, if I put my hat on and I'm trying to put myself in their position, they're the ones taking the punches. They're the ones working out. Of course, they want to make the most money for the least amount of effort. I get it. But I mean, all sports, it seems to happen in team sports too. Look at a football player or a baseball player. They sign that deal, that $100 million deal, and then they never play good again. Why should they? Remember the old saying, it's tough to get up for a fight when you're sleeping in silk sheets. It's a lot easier to get tough when you're suffering. My favorite, we're talking about these old movies before, my favorite short story, and I've offered to send anybody who emails me, I'll send you the copy. It got me into the sport of boxing when I was a kid. I had to read it for some English class or something. It was written by Jack London, and it was called A Piece of Steak. And it is the whole story of a fighter in a nutshell, the rise and fall. Youth will prevail in the sport of boxing. And that's that book, that short story. It was actually an essay. It wasn't a book. Was where it was at. But anyway, listen, boys and girls, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week. same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.